Thank you for that really sweet introduction, Brett, and thanks for inviting me to read tonight. Thanks to everyone for coming, and to Evan for reading with me. I'm really excited to hear you. Tweak this a little bit. How is everyone?
Excellent.
I'm just going to open with just a really short section of a poem by George Oppen. It's called "A Language of New York," and actually I realized today that parts of it are actually, I guess, maybe went on to become parts of being numerous. But I don't think this little section is so, and I like it. 4. Possible to use words, provided one treat them as enemies. Not enemies. Ghosts, which have run mad in the subways, and of course, the institutions and the banks. If one captures them, one by one, proceeding carefully, they will restore, I hope, to meaning and to sense. So these are poems from a manuscript that I've been working on, and the manuscript is called "Some Kind of We," so I'm going to open with that poem and go from there. So, "Some Kind of We." These church bells bong out one to another in easy conversation, a pattern, a deep ringing that wants to say, things are okay, things are okay, but things get buried. They're mending, uncertain, and I can't trust a church bell, though I would like to, the way I can trust that in this country, in houses, apartments, there somewhere is a cabinet or drawer where it's stashed, the large plastic bag with slightly smaller mashed together plastic bags inside it. It is overflowing, and we keep adding, bringing home more than we need. We should have to weave a 3-piece suit of plastic bags, a rug, a quilt, a bed of bags even, anything more useful than this collection, this excess. Why am I writing about plastic bags? Because it is this year in this country, and I am this person with this set of meanings on my body, and the majority of what I have, I mean what I literally have the most of in my apartment, more than plants, more than forks and spoons and knives combined, more than chairs or jars or pens or socks, is plastic bags. And I'm trying to write generally and specifically through what I see and what I know about my life, about our lives. If in all this there can still be tarnished, problematic, and certainly uneven a we. Emotional currency exchange. Would you like a receipt? Yes, always. The way they loved us to remember it well. Well, it was pleasing, but now the world's calling, which is none pleased, in fact unpleasant for most involved. Those most involved, stooped or schlepping or voicing the script which may be recorded. To the left of a row of canned beans, we waver. We glaze over on hold on our end of the line. And when standing in line to buy this or that, altogether wooden-faced, counting out exact change like a coupon lady, mustard, cream of wheat, crass lights under which lettuces ache. Or huddled, or fighting some minor evil, or picking through scraps. Of trivia we know not, of history little, of emotions a black, fast-moving flock. How we write is we feel around on the ground with our hands to find what has fallen before us isn't and must be ours to speak of. It's so wonderful being in this room. I love this space, and tonight in particular was really special because I was walking up and I saw an old friend of mine from, I don't know, I've known for 12, 15 years maybe, walking out, and it turns out he was dancing in the other room in the sanctuary with Ann Carson's performance, and then other really dear friends of mine were upstairs performing a play tonight. So I feel like really loved and like in a really, I don't know, community space, so that's really nice. Solve for X. If there was a word for it, when pushing down reason, if more than a boy, if shaking took care of it, if cured by looking, if no lemon juice to lighten the hair, if another girl could step out of you, a shared one, if her face was loosened by salt, if home was unjustly sunlight, when the other way around was a mountain, if light curtained it, if it dodged windows, if maybe it's the only thing enormous enough, if less than a boy is a fruit, if villages of light were pushed down inside you, a sea of anotherness, when the pronoun curtain, if a ring undoes the hand, when a zipper becomes impossible, if a curtain behind the curtain, if a girl is less than lace, if barely can pass for maybe, if boy was covered in possible light, if she stiffens when praised, when salt was sung, and a face was just a face, if he bristles always at the name, if nostalgia is a kind of blue light, if maybe could still be beautiful, if right now is bandaged, when even what didn't happen, happened. I wrote this when I was in Oregon, staying in the woods in the middle of nowhere, so forgive me. The woods, this country. The promise of the trees is a grand ladder into tufted green, that I'm genderless unless seen. But the woods are also exactly where they bring me. Dig a hole in that anonymous geography and dump me. It's not as if I can roam, muscle around, be feral. In town, the Christian cafe teems with caffeinated right-wingers. The trunks, scorched brittle with stunned deer, delineate the illness of all trees, an inability to leave. Still, I'd like to think my house would be the one the fire stopped just short of. When I tell him I haven't always been a man, my new friend tries to pull in his shock like a suddenly freaking out dog at the end of a leash. Studies me peripherally. I can't help but see him bringing me out to the woods, so to speak. My dog still as a tree. This one has a very long title. Various attentions all landing like birds into the same tree and thrilling there some minutes at dusk. If I were a man, this would all be different. But I am a man. Oh, stop harping. How many women fuss over you? In the dream, when he takes off his shirt, the outside of his body looks like the inside. He's an artist. So is this what I need to learn how to do? Wrestle down I with we, then wrestle down we. Still hold dear experience and consciousness as lived by an each. Cast off and mock I like out-of-style clothes. So now, what to wear? What to wear? But to feel fiercely. Stop harping. I got sold and trademarked by enemies. Excuse we, how speak? There's a thin line of flame runs the length of each mind to gut. Find it. Tie it to a crowd. If saddle up willingness plus experience, what can we make for us? We turns a key. Voluminous, we drop our coffees at once, put our hands in the air. How many utopias? Keep imagining us. Air gushing through a wide open window. Awe. Being with you makes me think about. We is something like a cloud. How big, how thick, its shape, ambiguous. We is moving across a magnificent sky. We see the sky all around us, but also we can look down at our own hands. A cloud is a changing thing. Sometimes we look like an animal, smiling, clawing at something not there. Other times we spread out so thin we almost don't exist. We are thickening just now, a sea of slow knitting, and soon it will rain and we'll be down in the grass again. A blade of grass gets thirsty. It's nice to think we could quench that. It's something we could really be good at. Sometimes arms get in the way, remind us we're separate, laying side by side and looking into another pair of eyes as if there's a way to see into the dark pupil's pit, someplace behind where truth lies. Other times, whose hands are whose? Our mouths together, the permeable entrance to the bright underworld chamber. In a rush of remembering, all eyes are lit from behind, the wiring rigged back to the same source, like putting together so many small things you have a bigger, better thing. Relative to what? It doesn't matter. There's something to be said for individuality multiplied. The earth is breathing out through countless eyes, asking for every possible ray of light to meet every possible rainstorm. They do attract. And aloneness only keeps getting bigger. One day, we will tell you all about it at our own table. There are things we cannot see. Most things. Most of all. On having lost my glasses. Our separation, I tell myself, is useful, the way all separations are useful. The window, a simple conduit for light. What I can't see, I didn't see, now I do. When I touch things, I wade out into them. We contort ourselves anyway in order to make meaning, or when meaning to make order. With the ferocious wind blowing like this, our built things do seem meant to come apart and fall together, and why not? The windows in their frames rattle, saying, "You silly, you silly," and the worn grass trampled into the muddy ground, no different from the ground itself, the matted fur of an animal. Why should this earth be an insult, the place one would be taken down to? The flower of adolescence. My, but you're a pretty one. Put an ugly one next to you. Pause. Then substitute a prettier one. So now how do you feel? The doctor says, no, not at all. The lawyer thinks we might have a case here, systematic abuses, violations of rights, etc. Too many parking lots paving over meadows of feeling marked underutilized. The doctor instructs you, look at that beautiful light. The mouth becomes golden, though a bit too stylized, like a meadow auditioning for a postcard, or a rosy greeting card cherub who knows all too well it is a cherub. At least the nights are still immeasurable. For a cat, nothing is stylized. You wanted to grow up to be a cat. No, a cut. But each is a mouth. Each has its own way of speaking, the description of which is outside the scope of this poem. Put together so many parking lots, you have a parking lot. Put together so many missiles, you have a museum. Put together some hills, you have a valley, and therefore you have a valley girl. She sings, how long is a cut? How much does it hurt? This one's for Jared. The men. They take their ease where sand meets soil and root meets knee, meets mouth, meets crotch, disappearing in a patchy strip, part marsh, part dune, between the two summer towns desire has led them to. One in just a cowboy hat, trails another in combat boots and trunks, to a clearing where they line up to get worked by an eager mouth or two, while others jerk alongside or lean in for a better look. They have come to worship in this makeshift cathedral of pine and bush, more home than holy, with its crude domestic touches, trash bag hung from a tree, nudging them to clean up when they finish, a cock-eyed white plastic chair that seems to say, darling, why leaving so soon? And how soon they tuck in when it's over, fanning out in decorum and pleasure and boredom and shameless and sunburnt to the nameless afternoon, giving quick nods and damp with relief, they scatter to fall into drink or shower, passing by one who poses, ass up on a blanket, or he who prowls daily in only a towel, hoping for a reason to let it fall. Exquisite Quarters. I had a nightgown once, which became a jellyfish. So in order to wear it, I had to go down, to punch myself into the form the content required, to hunker like a boulder under immeasurable pressure, as when minerals are transformed into their reverse. As when a nightgown is worn over the tuxedo for years. Pissing on a jellyfish sting is said to make one feel normal or royal. When we were together in the house by the sea, there was still a sea. Before being set adrift, nightgown and tuxedo lay slain ashore where the surf inched up, and if lapels say a word, then burn her down to a pair of molten cufflinks they piss on till normal. It is expected he kiss her and become a nightgown. She wears him in order to punch him down until he sinks, until it's said he is painless as a house or some comparable soft-bodied animal that drifts. I have two more. This one's for Candace, who's not here, but it makes me think of her. Your wild, domesticated inner life. Experience is a lamb. Memory is like over and over again leading that lamb by a rope, uphill, to the same rocky plot of land where your ancestors once farmed. Every time you set out, the lamb resists, pulls a steady no against the rope. Does it know something you don't? You know the trees are up there waiting for you, and the orchards, the vineyards, but it keeps pulling. It's a lamb, stout and gentle and stubborn, and our own lives always seem ordinary to us. When your father was a boy, an actual pet lamb slept on his head every night. This wasn't remarkable then, but the family likes to tell this story like, look how far we've come. They skip the part about him setting cats on fire. Now he's a doctor with a sleek apartment. Nothing chipped or old or broken in it. There's no way to take a picture of how it feels. It doesn't feel anything. Meanwhile, olive trees continue striking tragic poses in the Greek countryside as if for the first time. How can they stand it? How can it be that the path you and the lamb have worn into the mountain is, for the lamb, new every time? The collapsed walls of the farmhouse, a prim chorus, the almond grove, every time. Or could it be the lamb that's new? At the end of a rope, all lambs must act the same. If you're their shepherd, maybe they're telling you to be alive is to pull against something far stronger than you. So don't be a fucking doctor about it. Maybe it's time to be the little black hooves in mountain dirt, a body tethered to another body, to this earth. I'm going to close with this a little bit longer piece that I think Brett partially referred to in his introduction. At any given moment. Vito Corleone was a strong man, which is the main definition of a man, I think. At the table, I say, smiling, I am weak. And everyone stares at me like, why would you admit that? While I realize it's a mistake, I say it endlessly, because it's true. So here I am, in the hallway again, chain motel, corporate, nondescript wallpaper of a beigey pattern variety. Gender is the room I see myself walking into, is all the rooms, any room, the number, the key corresponding, and of course, the whole world's in there. Of course, if I want to talk to almost anyone, I have to go in. Fuck. It's too fucking small and we're all in it. But no, not everyone seems to hate it. Here were all my dreams of showing up to school in just underwear flushed before a backdrop of bean sprouts nosing out of paper cups. I remember Eric, suddenly, the fourth grade outcast, in a freak out, pushing all the furniture around our classroom in brilliant chaos. I didn't realize then the world wouldn't fall apart if you did that. The corner of my desk got jammed into my stomach, which was startling but not personal. What's personal is having to be here with all of you. You know how you can't really look out a window without it being a thing you're doing? Wistful, or just framed in its way by you being you and a window being a window? Isn't casual. Everything is out there to be looked at and not to look back at you, who are small and like a god in your window. One feels invisible then, but we've definitely seen people in the next building over in their underwear on a bed watching TV in the heat multiple times. The room where we're in our underwear watching TV is exceptionally small. Anyone would say so. But bigger, too, in its way, because the shades are drawn, and though we're beaded in a light sweat, no one can see us, we tell ourselves. So therefore, the room is huge and contains all we want to imagine there. given the heat and that we are a little slower to think in this humidity. Our near-naked bodies in underwear, we've decided, are outside the room of gender, which means we are eternally outside. Two wildflowers in soil, faces upturned. The elements tend to us gently with rain and light. But then, of course, the large people in gloves come to poke plastic tags into the soil right beside us to help us be seen correctly. That we'd rather it all be a little less precise. I'm not just a flower. At any given moment, I'm also a weed and medicinal and food for some bees, and I don't know, just a thing in the wind, a thing in the ground. I like the feel, the sound of that. But since I've imagined this room, it must be me who jabbed the tags into the soil, with a blurry picture of me and the scientific version of my name. I'm watching myself watch TV in the heat in my underwear from the next building over, and honestly, I seem overly angry. I think we should talk. Can we all come to our windows? Thank you.